Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode 22 of In the Red Corner. If you're a fan of the UFC, if you're a fan of Liverpool, if you're a fan of Man United, you've come to the right place. If you're not, you're in for the longest hour of your life. But for that hour, I'm joined as always by Mr. Grant Winstanley. How are you, Captain?
Mate, it's Friday. We cannot complain, can we? Happy Friday to you, mate.
Friday.
Yeah. I'll kick it off this week with a sponsor for the show. Probably, our first sponsor so far. More to come. This one is a free bit of content for the listeners out there. Larry and the guys over, and now I've got to be careful how I say this, but Larry and the team over at Get Your Tips Out.
With a P.
With a P, yes. It's a Facebook page. It's a community of like-minded people like myself. We all love a Saturday flutter, bit of an acca, horse racing or typically UFC or football. It's a great community of guys and gals over there to, expert tips, discuss sport, and there's a lot of, there's people more knowledgeable than me out there. So, check it out, guys. Get Your Tips Out on Facebook. I'm loving it so far.
Happy days. And we need to remember to what?
To gamble responsibly, as always. Stop when the fun stops. And never bet your bus fare.
There's a rule to live by. There we go. Yeah. It's good to catch up with you, mate. Good weekend ahead.
Yeah.
We're back on Fight Island.
Yeah.
First of 3 events this weekend. Back-to-back events again. Sunday or Sunday if you're in Australia.
Yeah.
And we've also got Liverpool United to look forward to. It's great that we've got these events, but it's an absolute shocker if you live in Australia. All these events. The first UFC event's 3 in.m. Then it's at 1 in.m. McGregor's not too bad. That's like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
But then Liverpool United's at 3 in.m. or 4 in.m.
Something like that.
Maybe a long sleepless weekend for us.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to it anyway.
Yes.
As always, we have a bit of an opening question. This week, I wanted to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
Or your thoughts on something. When we've been to Fight Island in the past, I say we, when they've been to Fight Island in the past.
We could only dream of going.
It's an amazing showcase, and it's a place where up and comers, more so than anybody else, have got a chance to. They've got a platform there to showcase what they can do, to stand out, especially when there's no crowds. There's the TV audience is there, so it's your chance, to jump on it and make the most of it. We've had people like Joaquin Buckley with his amazing head kick knockout, Hamzat who steamrolled through 2 opponents in a couple of days, and they really stole the headlines. What I want to get from you is, with this upcoming event now, we've got 3 events coming up. Who do you think is going to steal the headlines away from your main events, away from your McGregor's, your Poiriers, your Holloways? Who do you think is going to grasp the chance here, and who's going to be the one that everyone's talking about post-Fight Island this time?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. One name that jumps out, and it's not so much cheating a little bit, but there was a little bit of talk about him on the last Fight Island, but I think because there was, like you say, so many other people that kind of stole highlights, then I don't think, I think this is his turn now. So the one I'm going to go for actually fights on the midweek card.
Right.
And it's interesting because they've put him in the co-main spot.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm actually going to pick Munir Lazez to get the headlines.
I can't believe you said that.
Why, is that yours?
That's who I picked.
Oh, really?
I swear to God, it's written down here.
Oh, really? So am I right in saying he's the guy that... I mean, they keep telling that story about... Wasn't it his mate that said to Dana... Saw him in a restaurant, showing him his highlights, and you've got to sign this guy, and, and being kind of Fight Island, kind of his part of the world. And,
he's Moroccan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I think he trains in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi, but he's Moroccan heritage. So you've got that kind of, the Muslim audience there for him as well. I think there's going to be fans in the stadium. His first fight came about through, I think it was Dana White's son or his son's mate or whatever.
Yeah.
But his first fight was on Fight Island earlier last year. Was an absolute war. And I remember, I think it was. We watched it together. The first round, he was getting absolutely pummeled, wasn't he? But he came back. He ended up winning the decision, but could have finished that fight a couple of times. And he really put his foot down on it, and he looked incredible. His striking was real crisp. He was tough as nails. And it's funny you said that. I completely agree. I think he's got the potential here with his opponent to put a stamp on it. And I think especially with that kind of what will be a little bit of a home crowd advantage, he'll really want to grasp this. And I think he's got all the potential in the world.
Yeah. And given, similar to last year, a Fight Island in January, he was probably, when the whole Fight Island came about last year, that was like middle of the year.
Yep.
Whereas now, you're absolutely right. If he gets a nice win here, a nice highlight reel finish because of the stand-up, prowess that he shows, he could, on any fight that falls away, if it's a quick thing, he could turn around again maybe.
You're absolutely right.
And if there's another Fight Island mid-year, he'll say, put me on that one. So he could be a Holland, a Kevin Holland or something where he's having 4 or 5 fights this year if he's in good nick.
Especially they're coming back to Fight Island, which I'm sure they will, looking at the state of things in Europe and in the States.
And so many international champions that they kind of have to.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to stack those cards with whenever you've got the international champions, you're gonna have international competitors on that as well. So there's a chance there if he can keep himself away from injury, keep himself fit. He's living and training in the right part of the world.
Yeah.
The stage, the platform is set for him there, and he must know this. And I also think that because of the slot on the card that he's got, a co-main event, having only fought in the UFC once, in a co-main event on a card like that, the UFC must see that potential.
Yeah, the old rocket ship.
Yeah, I don't know much about his opponent, but I would imagine that he's going to be set up here to perform.
Yeah.
The UFC aren't rigging any of those fights, are they? But I think they'll have given him the best chance to say, we can make a bit of a star of you in this part of the world.
They're giving him every opportunity.
And I think he'll take it.
Yep.
So I like how we're on the same wavelength. That was
go.
a good one. Was there anybody else just out of interest?
I know there's a couple of interesting battles, even on this coming card, which we'll get into. Straight off the main card, there's kind of two undefeated fighters there.
Yep.
The guy in the prelims, Phil Hawes, they're talking a lot about. So maybe we could see a star this weekend. But
only the ones I'd mentioned. Maybe there's Mason Jones, the Welsh kid who's come. He was a double Cage Warriors champion. Kind of followed in McGregor's footsteps. Really, he's got his UFC debut on the midweek card. So I'm interested to see how he goes. Again, it's another chance to make a name for yourself on a big stage. And I also think potentially because of the slot that she has, Amanda Ribas also could be in a good position to really stamp her name on that division as well with the females. There's a lot of hype coming off her, and Dana even mentioned her this week as well, which shows that she's kind of in his mind for someone with a lot of potential. And she's got a tough matchup as well. So I think she might make a mark.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll start by looking ahead at this weekend's card, which is real good as well. It's a good way to kick off the little stint that they've got there. Blockbuster 3 events. It's also on ABC, which is a bit of a historic moment, I think, for the UFC being on that national television. You're gonna have way more eyes on it. So anyone again who's on this card now, you've really got a chance, haven't you, to showcase yourself and I think that because you always build up, and McGregor's obviously the headline at the end of the three events. Yeah. But more so than anything, this one's the one potentially with the most eyes on it because it's not pay-per-view, it's completely free to air that anyone can watch this if they've got access to ABC. So the card's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. The first one that jumped out to me on the prelims, so we'll be watching this at about 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning.
Whatever it is.
Justin Taffer. We've seen him fight twice in the UFC now, once live, which didn't go well for him. No. He's fighting Carlos Felipe. There's a bit of a crossover, isn't there? Because Justin Taffer we saw fight in Melbourne, got absolutely sparked in his debut by Jorgen De Castro, who then went on to fight Carlos Felipe in his last fight and lost. Yeah. It was a bit of a, if I remember rightly, it was a bit of a boring decision, wasn't it? It was two big lads kind of exhausted, trying to throw bombs.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
But Justin Taffer, in the meantime, has knocked out Juan Adams. Yeah. So this is the fight that completely makes sense and has come together. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also skeptical of it because it could go one of two ways. It could be two big lads throwing bombs. One of them lands connects. You've got a fantastic knockout, and this could be something we're talking about for a long time. Yeah. But it could also be two big lads very aware that if they get clocked, they're going to sleep, and it could be a bit of a snooze fest. I don't quite know which way. What do you think? Which way is it going to go?
It's I mentioned earlier, get your tips out. if you're building a UFC ACCA this weekend, leave these guys off.
Yeah.
Because I learnt my lesson in Melbourne because I backed Justin Taffer, and in my opinion, in heavyweight, certainly kind of two relative unknowns. You may as well bet on two slugs going up the wall. It's 50-50. It's kind of, if you want to get your betting fixed that way, then do that instead, because, like you say, you don't know what,
it could go either way.
Yeah. It could either be a 30-second thing, or it could be 15 minutes of dross, where there's just two guys just, trying to catch their breath. And
you'd like to think at this stage of the careers where they are, and both really in need of to put the wins together, you'd like to think they go out there and they know that Dana White's in attendance, and it's what he's going to want to see is lads who are coming to fight. I don't want to see them clinching on the fence and just breathing heavy and doing that for 15 minutes. That's not going to get you in Dana White's good books. I want to see them slugging.
I think Taffer, somebody like Taffer, they probably want to kind of keep helping him as much as possible, I would say, because, and out the two, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Juan Adams or whatever, Juan Adams or Carlos Felipe or all those guys, but Taffer kind of is in that Islander Mark Hunt mould, and you think they love coming over here to kind of New Zealand and Australia, and he's that kind of Tai Tuivasa you've got, and it's kind of, you could see a good match up there down the track. He's kind of the next kind of big, like big boy,
And you've got you've got two New Zealand Australian champions, haven't you? So you're going to have to stack cards this side of the world. So you need good young upcoming talent that you can put on the card that people know. So
exactly,
there's a big chance there for him.
Exactly, and then you think of other heavyweights that could be coming over to Melbourne to face him. You got Taffer, for example. Someone like Tom Aspinall, who we've got high hopes on, and we want to get him on here, and we want to get him in the pub afterwards as well in Melbourne. Is he could be fighting a Tuivasa, or he could be fighting a Taffer in Melbourne.
He might have even overtaken them already, but Tuivasa would be interesting. I think with we're diverging a bit, but with Aspinall's ground game and grappling skills, it'd be an interesting matchup for Tuivasa.
I'm going to go Taffer, and I'm going to say knockout, and I'll just spin a wheel and second round.
I'll agree with you that. Yeah, I don't. If it's going to be a knockout, it's not going to go long, is it?
No.
One of them's going to catch. You're going to catch someone early, so I might even say a first round knockout with Taffer.
Yeah.
Elsewhere on the prelims, you mentioned it before. Phil Hawes is fighting Nasruddin Imavov, who I've never heard of. But Phil Hawes, again, this to me is the headline in the prelims. He's come through the contender series. Dana White's very high on him. He ran through Robert Whittaker's teammate, didn't he? And on the last Fight Island event, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Ran through him. He's a big middleweight. And I think again he's being set up for stardom here. And I think they think very, very highly of him.
Yeah.
Hits like a train. Good wrestling background, I believe. When you think of where they are, and they want the headliner of a prelim, which is going to be on ABC Live, you want someone who's going to go out there and perform.
Fireworks.
And I think this is exactly what they're going to get with Phil Hawes. He looks super dangerous.
Yeah, I think they've set this up for a Phil Hawes finish, highlight reel finish. I think I think he's lost twice out of 9, but the 7 that he's won is all knockout.
Yeah,
or TKO/knockout. So. I think they know what they're doing. The UFC, it's safe to say the UFC know what they're doing.
If you've got your chance to be on national TV, and you know what times and what slots are going to be on there, what people are going to be watching, you make sure you've got some highlights on those. So because you've got fresh eyes and you've got casual fans that'll look at this and be like, oh, this is interesting. He'll be so annoyed if he gets a bore fest on any of those fights. So they'll have set this up. The matchmakers are good. We know that. They'll have set this up to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah.
Moving on to the main card, it's a great main card. It starts with two guys that I don't know a lot about, but they come really highly touted. I think they both come through the contender series. I'm going to try and say the names: Puhele Soriano and Dusko Todorovic. Both undefeated, which again is pretty rare still at this stage of the careers. Both come through the contender series. Puhali's 11 wins to Todorovic's 10 wins, 6 KOs. Interestingly, Todorovic, I believe, has got a KO over Michel Pereira. Way back when, before the Contender Series, I think he was on some kind of Serbian underground fighting bare knuckle thing.
Was that on Sky Sports, that one? Or?
Probably, yeah. Okay. Channel 5, more likely.
Bravo.
But it's an Dave. But it's an interesting stat to have, because you've seen where Pereira's gone since.
Yeah.
You know, a staple UFC name now.
Yeah.
These two guys are coming in undefeated.
Yeah.
Again, they're going to want to impress. This is their chance. It's their part of the world. How it's going to go, I have no idea. But fireworks. It's going to be absolute fireworks.
Go from Phil Hawes into this, 2 undefeated fighters. Yeah. Could be flash knockout to flash knockout. So.
You look at how the cards are set up, and you're just like, it's just genius, isn't it? Because you finish the prelims, and they're going to be like, wow, look at that guy, and then you start the main card, you're like, how good is this going to get? Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. And then we follow that again with Joaquin Buckley, who's back on Fight Island. We mentioned him before. Made a name for himself last time with his fantastic spinning head kick knockout of Kasanganay. He's since been back into Vegas. I think it was a first round knockout.
Yeah.
It was early anyway. Yeah. Another first round knockout. He's got a bit of a reputation now. What I like about Buckley's fight here, he's fighting Alessio Chirico, who's, again, someone I'm not super familiar with, but what that says to me is they're building Buckley slowly. With the traction he has, you could easily throw him in with a bigger name, and he comes up short, and then you lose that momentum. They've put him in here with someone who's in the UFC, so dangerous whatever happens. But I think they're being sensible with it, and they're building him slowly, right? Yeah,
no, 100%. And don't get me wrong, the head kick knockout was unbelievable, and obviously it went viral around the world. But when we broke it down, before the previewed his last fight, we was talking about, you got to live up to the hype and don't, get the win. Like, you don't think you have to do anything special or whatever. But he ended up doing something that was equally as impressive. And part of me is probably more impressed by kind of
backing it up.
Backing it up after that type of thing. So I think Joaquin Buckley is, I think he gets it. And, there's always this back and forth with James Krause and stuff, and obviously
building that slowly, possibly.
And and it was and that kind of back and forth he had with Joe Rogan when Rogan was like, "I just wanted you to say it," type of thing. That interview, all this stuff gets people talking. It gets them, similar to Kevin Holland. They can talk the talk. They get it. They get the fight business. They get what it's all about.
And there's this new generation that are coming through now that have come through things like the Contender Series. The prep, they know what they need to do. Hey, and this year's almost been perfect for them as a platform to do it. His opponent, he's coming off 3 losses, all by decision. So it shows he's tough, he's durable, he's in there. But I can't see going any other way than him walking onto. He'll walk onto something that Buckley throws.
I agree.
I think there'll be a KO at some point in this fight. Might not be as early. I think we know that from his record, we see this guy's pretty durable. So maybe we're looking at a second or third round knockout. But I think Buckley will get the finish and just continue on his journey. Next up, we get to third from top, Ponzinibbio, someone we haven't seen for a long time. He's fighting Li Jianglang. Probably said that wrong. The interesting thing about this is, if we were doing this podcast 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Ponzinibbio was one of the top contenders in this division, right? In the welterweight division. Super dangerous. He had wins at home in Argentina, and his last kind of his run. What it said to me was it was a different generation now. When you look at the last people he fought, he had wins over Mike Perry.
Magny.
Neil Magny was his last one. That's who he beat in Argentina. And before that, there's another name that we would know. Should have wrote it down. Gunnar Nelson.
Right.
He beat Gunnar Nelson. And they were the last 3 wins that he had. And you look at those names and you're like, they're good names, but they're almost of like a different generation. They're coming out. Magny obviously has come out this really well, but the others have kind of slipped down the pecking order a little bit. His last fight was 2018 since he last fought. He's coming through, and his opponent is a up and coming Chinese competitor, trains with Weili Zhang. Again, someone that the UFC would probably like to see do quite well, but he came up short in his last fight. Lost a decision, I think. So it's really hard to make a call on how you think this is going to go, because I just don't know what Ponzinibbio's walking in to the cage.
Yep.
No idea. What do you make of it? Do you feel like it's a complete like test almost? Let's see where these both are at.
I think it is, and I think you're absolutely right what you say. Ponzinibbio, a while ago, we're talking like 4th maybe in the rankings, and like high up the injuries, whatever, come away. So you're absolutely right. See where he is. Dominic Cruz always talks about there's no such thing as ring rust. So this is kind of a nice test for him to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
How, is it the old Ponzinibbio that was kind of a real top contender, and if so, who we kind of who we feeding him to kind of next, or where does he fit in? Because that welterweight division we discussed last week, there's a lot of fights to happen and there's a lot of things to play out there. So again, this is his opportunity to go.
Put yourself
back into contention. I want to, and I want to kind of fight the best of the best. And ring rust is the easy option to say. Oh well, he might fall short. But we saw Brian Ortega come back after 2 years or probably a similar period, and he's looked better than ever. Yeah,
and that's why it's so hard to call, isn't it? I could say like, oh, he's been out the octagon for a while. Ring rust, he's not going to be the same. But he could have been training harder than ever over the last 2 years. Exactly. Whether he's recovering, just reassessing,
picked up a new skill set
completely. And that's where it's so interesting. You don't know. His opponent again. He lost the decision to Neil Magny last time, who's headlining Wednesday's event. And like I said, I think the UFC again were quite high on this. That Dana's mentioned this week that the aim is to do a Weili Zhang fight in China, probably against Rose.
Yeah.
They need to build a card there. They need some big names on there. Don't they? Could do with him getting a win here. But throwing him in with Ponzinibbio, it's a bit of an unknown, I would have thought. I don't know. I don't see. It's hard to make a call for this. I don't know. If the Ponzinibbio of old shows up, all I know is we're in for a good scrap.
Yeah.
Because the Zhang Lang is tough, durable, been in there with Magny, but I don't know how this is going to play out.
Yeah. I will lean towards Ponzinibbio decision, getting the job done.
Okay, yeah, I think that
for another test in mid-year of someone again increase it a bit more and let's see, maybe put him in with someone who at the time they thought was a level playing field. Maybe it's not say it's an older person. It could be a Woodley.
The name, isn't it? Whether he's again depends on the performance. If it's not a convincing performance, you give him a test against Woodley, because you shouldn't be in that top 5 if you can't get past Woodley.
Yeah.
Maybe
has he
thinking a bit too far ahead, aren't we? But
has he fought a Wonder Boy before?
I think Wonder Boy's probably I don't know. It's a bit of a step down for Wonder Boy.
Yeah, but it depends if he's back. If he was kind of on a level playing field with him.
Be a good fight.
Yeah. I know Wonder Boy's after like Masvidal and like you say
he's looking at titles now.
Yeah, the higher ticket items. But Wonder Boy's kind of a bit like an Edwards. It's kind of like you're too much of a nice guy you sometimes can get overlooked a little bit.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Co-main event is very on trend. We're welcoming back veterans of the game, seasoned veterans who obviously don't have the best record over the last couple of years, but we know have been in there, done it, contended for titles, had incredible wins, well respected in the sport. Carlos Condit, Matt Brown. Are you looking forward to this fight? Do you quite like these throwback fights?
Yep.
I love them because it's two guys who have nothing to lose really.
No.
They're not on a title run. They know very well they're not on a title run. They're just enjoying this ride and doing something they love, and they want to put on a show. Mm-hmm. And I think what it means for the fans, and that's why they're in a co-main event slot here, which is they're nowhere near title contention, but the UFC know what they're going to get with these guys. And I'd love to throw people like Dan Hardy in the mix there, and as much as Cowboy Cerrone still wants to be on a bit of a tour towards a title, I'm not so sure about it. I think he fits into this mix as well of fighters that people love, people want to watch compete, enjoy their story, and can watch it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked. I really want to see it.
Yeah. There's certain fighters in the UFC that will never get the belt, but never need the belt to get the recognition and the love of the fans and and the eyes on them. And Carlos Condit and Matt Brown, you know, kind of flashback of kind of the old school UFC, and came out of that tough school of really, you know, putting the marker down. You know, without a Carlos Condit and a Matt Brown, you don't get some of the current crop, because they would probably look up to them too. And you know, they've kind of made their way through it. So it's one of those things where you just sit back, and it's, you know, if it was an equivalent of football, it's that one for the neutral that goes, it's just going to be a great game. This.
And it's a competitive matchup as well, because they both fought. They both fought in 2020. Yeah. Condit got a win. I think it was a decision. Was it a decision in the end?
Yeah, I think
it was a decision in the end. Yeah. But a third of it decision, wasn't it? Matt Brown got beat earlier on in the year. I think he fought back in May. Yeah. Lost the fight to an up-and-comer, a guy that was undefeated as well. Yeah. So he probably was a bit fed to him there. Yeah. But it's a competitive fight. It's not two people who've been out the octagon for years and are just coming back for a bit of a laugh. This is two guys who have competed and are now looking to compete, and in what is a different arena. But I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
and I think looking at kind of the demeanour and different things this week, you know, I think people have been saying to Matt Brown as well, is this a swan song? And
also get that question.
Yeah, and it could very well be, because you know, we've been talking. You know, Dana said before Christmas 60 cuts and all this. Yeah. This could just be, Dana might have already worded them up and say, you boys are on pretty good money.
Yeah. You know, you've got stage. You're live on ABC, national television. If you want your moment to throw down, have an incredible brawl, and then put your gloves on in the middle of the octagon. This is your time.
Exactly. And if any of these two retire, well, guess what? You'll get a golden handshake from Dana, nice stick envelope, and go, thank you for your service and all you've done. Don't want to see you again, but thank you. Type of, you know, and that's what it's about.
I kind of hope it happens. Yeah. Well, we'll see how the fight goes, because we might watch it and be like, I want to see that again.
Exactly. And you know, certainly. And you mentioned Dan Hardy.
He'll be there, won't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's whether he wants that fight again and I've read Dan Hardy's book recently, so I think I'm more looking forward to Condit and Matt Brown, because
the back of that.
It's in Dan Hardy's. There is schoolmate. It was from the Dan Hardy class.
Mates.
It was it's kind of, you know, hearing, you know, through Dan's kind of words about the fights, and it just makes you more looking forward to it, really. I'm going to lean towards Condit.
I'm going to lean towards Condit as well. Why?
Just durability, and I think it's going to be a bloodbath, to be fair. I think it's going to be a three, it goes to decision, and it'll be a close 29-28 or something like that, and it's going to be, Condit.
Yeah, completely agree. Happy days. And that leads us on to the main event. Main event's a cracker. Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar. There's a lot to unpack in this one, because you know, a few storylines there. You got Max Holloway, who, former champ, lost his belt early last year maybe, to Volkanovski. Rematched him. A lot of people thought he won the rematch. It was super close. Didn't get the decision. Did you think Max won that one? Yeah, I probably agree with you. Anyway, we don't make that decision. Yep. Judges took it away. And I think this is Holloway's chance now. He needs a win, doesn't he, to stay within the title conversation. He wants that belt back. He needs the win, because there's a few people below him here. Your likes of Calvin Kattar's, your Zabits, you know, we were coming up, Dan Ige, people like that who will be vying for this next spot. You've already got Brian Ortega, probably top of that tree. Max has got to get a win, really, hasn't he? But he's coming up against a real tough opponent in Calvin Kattar. Yeah. We've seen him have great performances, great finishes against Jeremy Stevens. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting fight. How do you see that one playing out?
Well, what I find interesting this week is I've seen, you know, a couple of quotes from Max and stuff, and I think, not say it's mind games, but I think Holloway wants Kattar to come at him, and Holloway very much kind of react, counter, and keep it kind of standing up, as opposed to anywhere else, because Holloway all week has been talking, saying, you think you can throw? Nobody throws better than me, and you know, you've got to show me kind of how good you are. And I think that is kind of, that's a little bit of a game plan. You know, that's where Holloway wants it. And if it's anything, you know, like we saw against Ortega, or if he knows that he can win that stand-up battle convincingly, we could see a similar thing where Holloway just looking, the hands are just, you know, but it's whether Kattar, as a guy, like, you know, his fight IQ, and is he smarter than that? to kind of fall into that, or equally does Kattar go, no,
it's whether you're back.
Myself.
It seems to be, or it's being built up and touted as a boxing match.
Yeah.
These are two guys that generally, will stick with the standard parts.
Yeah.
Calvin Kattar, Boston born and bred.
Yeah.
They're kind of famous for producing good boxers, good hands. Max Holloway, we know, and the difference in the two is Max Holloway is known for his volume punching.
Yeah.
It's sheer number of strikes, overwhelmed. You look at that fight with Brian Ortega, who was just basically stopped the fight at the end because he just couldn't deal with the amount of strikes coming at him. And then you look at Kattar, who's the power puncher.
Yeah.
When you look at it from real simple terms like that, you have to favour Max Holloway because you haven't seen him knocked down. You haven't really even seen him wobbled.
No.
And he's been, and Max has been in there with everyone. Been in there with absolutely everyone. Aldo twice, Brian Ortega, McGregor. He's fought everyone there, and he hasn't been. I can't think of a time off the top of my head where he's been stunned. Aside from maybe when he fought Poirier, but at a bigger way, bigger punches.
Yeah.
So there's a question. It's a test of Holloway's chin again. It's a test of Calvin Kattar's power. Does it match up with? Can he overwhelm Holloway with his power?
Yeah.
It's the question. We won't know the answer to this. Yeah. We really won't know the answer to it.
Yeah, and that's where kind of Max is getting overlooked a little bit because the two fights with Volkanovski were so close. And don't get me wrong, the first one was more Volkanovski than
I think that was fair.
Yeah, that was fair. But and you know what the judging's like. Both of them fights, let's say, could have gone either way. So it wouldn't be a surprise now with Holloway still having the belt.
No, he's championship material,
and people are still talking, saying Max and who's going to beat him. So it can, it's fine margin. So I still believe in Max, and I think he knows that Ortega's now getting. It's probably, not say getting his back up a little bit, but now that Ortega was so impressive, suddenly now he's been overlooked of the guy that he pieced up.
Yeah.
So Holloway's like, well, I will put on a masterclass, Yeah,
and that's the thing with Holloway, isn't he? He'll be looking at the people who are now above him and be like, I think I've beaten all of you. Yeah. I know I beat Ortega.
Yeah.
And I think I beat Volkanovski. So I feel like the champ still.
Yeah.
That's what that's how we'll look at it. And and it's for Kattar to come and take it off him. I think the other side I mentioned, the Holloway's kind of back catalogue, who's who of the featherweight division. Calvin Kattar not so much. We can't take away his skills, his credentials, and his finish against Jeremy Stevens was fantastic. But he lost to Zabit not that long ago.
Yeah.
And, Zabit's not fought for a while now for one reason or another, COVID and other bits and bobs. So there's the question there in Kattar's mind is, should I be in this position? And you look at the difference in competition, and it massively swings in Max's favour. Again, if Max is looking at this, he must just think, I would walk through all the people you've fought. I've come through murderer's row here. I still feel like a champ. If I'm making predictions for this one, the safe money's on Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Sheer volume of strikes, fight IQ, like you said, just being in there with the best of the best. He'll know what to do. He's supremely confident with his skills. He trusts his chin. He's even mentioned things about, if he does go to the ground, no one's really seen him on the ground for a very long time because his takedown defense is so good. Yeah. Not that I think that'll be much of a factor here, but, if Kattar's having no luck, he might have a go. I don't know. Aside from Max's chin failing him, I don't see a way Calvin Kattar wins this fight.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will go with Holloway, and I think, don't get me wrong, 2 years ago, I think people were sleeping on Calvin Kattar, and I think he was kind of very underrated, and he's kind of still underrated now in a sense in terms of getting the adulation, and maybe that's what he needs.
We'll see how underrated he is.
But I think he has all the makings to be a champion and could be a champion, but he's not the elite. He's not the Holloway level yet, I believe. I still think there's that one more, which we'll see.
Yeah.
But it just needs that one more.
Yeah.
Go up one more notch, and then it's Calvin Kattar's arrived.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I feel as though he's still warming, and before we get the takeoff.
Maybe too soon. Like, you just look at the back catalogue. I keep saying it, but it's you look who Max has fought, and you look who Calvin's fought. it does feel like it doesn't feel like championship material yet, for me anyway. He's not got the names on his record that he needs to be in that position. But
and this is why the fight makes sense. This is kind of the one to announce yourself. And what better place to do it in Fight Island? You know, you think about the opening question. This is your chance.
Oh, if you can
become a star.
Oh, if you spark Max Holloway,
early. Imagine if it's like an early, you know.
If it's and the Ortega Volkanovski fight's not been made yet. You know, there's a chance to steal that limelight from Ortega. As good as he looked, there's every possibility that can happen. Yeah. It's your chance to do it. Yeah. And same with Max. I don't know whether they would do the Volkanovski one straight away again, but
Cage has got the chance to leapfrog Ortega.
He does because I don't think Max does because we've seen it, but I think Kattar does, and and that's where take your chances. It's there for him to take. I don't think so. I don't think he'll do it.
Yeah.
But it'd be awesome if he did. Yeah. Nothing against Max, but it'd be awesome if he did.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. So that's our first UFC card. Obviously on the Wednesday we've got a card headlined by Michael Chiesa, Neil Magny.
Yeah.
And then we'll meet and speak again before we do the McGregor-Poirier card, because that's an absolute humdinger. To finish off on the UFC stuff, there was talk this week about Nate Diaz. And there's always stuff mentioned about him. He's always trying to keep himself relevant, and there's been talk of him and Nick throughout the year, whatever. Yeah. But this time Dana White said in an interview this week, prior to the fights this weekend, that they were working on a Nate fight, and it sounded like it was pretty much a done deal. He said that he was coming down to 55, which is good. I don't know when the last time we saw Nate at 55 was, but a while ago he's fought at 70, hasn't he, against McGregor, against Masvidal in more recent times. So if we do see Nate at 55, who's he gonna fight? Who's this? If there's something in mind, something that Dana's got in mind. Who do you think he's gonna fight? I know who I think he's gonna fight. In fact, before you say that, I had the first person I thought he was going to fight. He isn't, because he's the person I thought he's already said no.
Right.
And I'll tell you that is in a sec.
Okay.
And I've got one more name who I think he might fight now.
Okay.
But I'm interested to see who you think he might fight.
I don't know if they fought. Has he fought RDA?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had.
Right. Would you like to see RDA?
I'd like to see it. Yeah, I'm all against that one. That'd be a good scrap. I feel like it's a bit harsh on RDA coming off a bunch of wins, and I bet you they fought before. But yeah, possibly. That's not who I think it's going to be.
Is it the winner of Hooker Chandler?
No, not for me. Too high.
Too high.
I think my first thought was Paul Felder. Felder did an interview yesterday and said it's not him. He obviously hasn't heard anything about it, so it's not. He was like, it's not me. But that's when I thought it would have been. Felder coming off 2 losses, Diaz coming in, welcoming back to the division, bit of a where you at kind of thing. You fight Felder. It made sense. The second one I thought it was going to be now, after, if it's not Felder, I think it might be Justin Gaethje. I think they might give him Justin Gaethje. Really? It's coming off a loss. It's a really big name. It's Nate Diaz. You can't just... I don't think you can drop anywhere outside the top 10. You're going to want to build him up. Again, you try and think ahead of what the UFC might be envisaging for this division. Post-Khabib, post-whatever. If McGregor wins and beats Poirier, you're either going to get him fighting Khabib if he stays, potentially Oliveira if he doesn't, maybe. Gaethje's coming off the loss. A fast way to get Nate Diaz up that division and in an awesome fight, because that will be a great scrap. 2 tough individuals with great skill sets. Both can strike. Both have got credentials on the ground. I think they might do a Nate Diaz Justin Gaethje.
I think my first instinct is I think Gaethje's too high. I think Dana really wants to do Gaethje Oliveira.
And you might be right. I just think in that division, it's really weird because everyone, the 5 feel very compressed. If you lose, you drop out of it because there's so many people who are in that. The Oliveira looks so impressive against Tony Ferguson. that I think he might just get the next. I think he might get the winner of McGregor.
Have they ruled out Tony?
I don't know. That'll be interesting as well. But again, he's coming off a loss. Maybe. I think if he fought Tony, you still need another win. Whereas if you beat Gaethje, McGregor's next. I think. I think I said on the podcast last week, and it's funny how you change your minds about these things. I thought they were going to they'll try and get the belt on McGregor as quick as possible. I think I was wrong. If you put the belt on McGregor, he wins it and he rides off into the sunset. The smarter thing is don't give the belt to McGregor, because the longer he doesn't have the belt, the longer he has to work for it. We know he wants it.
Yeah.
So don't give it him. Don't put the belt on the line for Poirier now, because you want to keep him hungry. Give him something to fight for.
Yeah.
And I think McGregor knows that as well.
But on the flip side, you've got the danger is if he doesn't have the belt, he'll say, "Well, I'm going to fight Manny Pacquiao," and they'll go, "No." But then Dana could say, "No, but if you're our champion, you've got to defend the champion." Or
I think we'll see. I think we'll probably see Conor potentially win and defend it. It's just to get against who. And imagine a Diaz McGregor for a belt. And it's how do you get Diaz
up there
on that path? I think Justin Gaethje would be that. There's no guarantee he beats him for one, but I think that's one surefire way of doing it, of getting him there. Yeah. There's a bunch of options in that 155 division. Yeah, maybe you could fight. Maybe you go straight in with Oliveira. I don't know. There was a weight issue, wasn't it? It's all about timings, and I think if you're Oliveira now, though, off that win against Tony, looking so good, you don't accept Nate Diaz. You're looking above him. Yeah. But Gaethje's coming off the loss. I think Gaethje's game, isn't he? He'll just be like, this is a great fight. That could headline a pay-per-view and not be for a title, couldn't it? Yeah. It's a big fight. Nate Diaz, McGregor, it has to be a big fight. You can't just put him in against any bum. Like, he has to be. Yeah. That's what I think anyway. Yeah.
Well, and the good thing about Diaz is you can kind of put him in, if it's RDA, great. If it's, and then...
RDA works.
Yeah, and the reason I said Hooker Chandler is because I know when I got my tweet read out on BT Sport, I did say to the guys, Diaz versus Hooker in Australia in the stadium
and they've had some back and forth, and it might well be, and maybe that's what's in the works. Maybe they've said to Chandler and Hooker, winner gets Nate. I don't know. It's really, there's somebody's there. There's somebody earmarked for him. Yeah. And just because I haven't heard anything, I think just
and the drawback with Hooker Chandler is you win. If you win next Sunday, if you don't call out McGregor when he's fighting the next fight,
it's hard to call out McGregor when he's not won yet.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? It's hard, but
they'd be like, the winners. I'm having who's next.
I want winner.
Whoever's you don't go, "Were you at Diaz?" And it's like, well, as much as you want to see it, I feel as though someone like a Chandler, for example, if they could really sell, like we said last week, a McGregor and a Chandler, which would sell really, really well.
If Chandler wins,
they'd just hit a cash cow to go.
Yeah.
Cash cow. But
so many good fights to make.
Interesting how Nate Diaz has become relevant this week now that USADA has got rid of the marijuana for the testing.
That is convenient.
That is very convenient.
I must almost be part of his, like, I'll come back and fight if.
You get Nowitzki on the phone and you tell him.
And in the week, the McGregor's, about to fight as well. It's funny how these things work, and you can see if you it sounds lame this, but if you watch the sport enough and you see how it works, and you know what they're planning. Yeah. They're thinking, how can we get McGregor Diaz in some kind of title fight? Yeah. How do we do this?
And it's kind of, not say a safe bet, but it's kind of, even if Conor was the champion, a defence against Diaz, although Diaz beat him, I would kind of argue, they don't say it's not say a safe defence, but they kind of think McGregor's probably more likely to get the win.
Yeah, especially at 55.
Yeah,
I would say. More his natural weight.
Because that's what he
fought both times at 70.
Right, okay.
And you start this week, you've watched some McGregor stuff and you see some of the highlights coming out, and the second fight against Diaz, some of the shots that McGregor was throwing, like, McGregor looked incredible. Even in the first fight against him in the first round, he looked incredible at 170. McGregor, Nate Diaz is just tough as they come. Yeah. And I know people would be like, "Oh yeah, but he got battered by Masvidal," but he was still in there. He only got stopped because it was a cut.
And I know it
didn't stop him.
I know it's probably too low, But they're not going to Cowboy, are they?
True love. No. It doesn't fly Diaz up the division.
It's just two fan favourites, both coming down to 155.
Again, it's a fan favourite fight. I don't think Nate. If you've got any ambition, you don't take that fight, do you?
No.
If you've got any ambition to, it doesn't get you anywhere near a title shot. Unfortunately, I don't know what Cowboy's doing. We've spoken about this a few times, and you see it if you watch Cowboy's YouTube channel now.
Yeah.
Sound like a fanboy here, but he's in training camp for someone. I have no idea who, because he wants, again, he's saying it again, one last run. Run or what?
No.
I don't see it.
And like I said, I was very critical, saying when people know that they're on the chopping block and they're about to get cut, they'll just say, right, new chapter, I'm going to another division. Go, no.
You make up your own narrative, don't you? I think
the Grim Reaper's calling.
Yeah, I don't know. Not, in this division in another time maybe, but in this division in this time.
Yeah, there's too much going on to just
too much, and there's too many killers there. I just don't think it ends well for Cowboy.
Exactly. When they've all beat you.
Yeah, there's very few left there that he hasn't fought and lost to. I don't see it. But anyway, we'll see how this unfolds. But I wonder if we'll hear something throughout this weekend about who Diaz's opponent is.
Yeah.
It's a great platform to announce that.
I'll lock in RDA.
I'm saying Gaethje.
Okay.
Right, we'll move on to the other big event this weekend.
The real fight night.
Head-to-head, our fight night.
Yeah.
Me and you scrapping in the car park of the Wick.
Yeah. Hey, and you started doing MMA, so I don't like my chances.
I'm backing myself.
I know.
On the, what's it called? Tips.
Yeah, get your tips out.
Get your tips out. Back me.
Yeah, back Matt. I'm paying $5.
Yeah, so this weekend. If we were sat here before Christmas, maybe start of December, would you have thought we'd been sat here in mid-January saying United at the top of the table? Would you have thought that? Because I wouldn't have.
If we were sat here December 2019, a year ago.
Yeah.
No.
And you came from nowhere these last couple of weeks, and you started to see, hang on.
He's lost his job 2 months ago.
Yeah. Well, we would. Yeah, we were sacking him. We were Ollie out.
I thought if he didn't win the game against Everton, he was gone.
Yeah. So many times we spoke about it. A couple of weeks.
And then
we
went out of the Champions League in a position when we shouldn't have really.
And we said that. I say this every week. What's different? What's changed? But I'm not sure. I think anything. I don't know whether it's a mentality thing for you guys or a change of system.
Bruno for me.
Bruno. What happens if you lost Bruno? Does it fall apart? Does it fall to bits, or is there more foundation than that?
So I think Jamie Redknapp touched on it this week, and he talked about Bruno, his mentality and his high standards. And I know United fans have been comparing him to Cantona when he came into the club. Right. It's that he is the one. He doesn't accept losing and not giving your best. Yeah, and I think a player like that, when they come into a club, and you see how much he's settled, and after his first game, I was literally give him the captaincy. Give him the armband. It's as if he was born in Salford and he gets United. I'm give him the captaincy. So I think it has been, and obviously I can't say it's all been Bruno, because obviously Solskjaer, you've got to give him some players credit and Ollie credit. But I think since he's come in, there's just been a shift of standard, and it's not acceptable. We can't be losing at home, or it's not acceptable.
Well, what's interesting about this game, statistically, is the team with the best home record against the team with the best away record.
Yeah.
Which is and we're, luckily for us, it's at Anfield. I guess before we even talk about that, we go back, and Liverpool have had 9 days off now, but in that time, United have played twice, maybe, since we last played.
Man City in the League Cup, which we lost. Another semi-final. And Watford in the so it might have been 3 times. I think it was City. I can't remember when we did the podcast last week. So
the games are all over the place at the minute.
We had City, then we had Watford at the weekend, which was dross.
Right.
That was 1-0 after 3 minutes. I actually fell back asleep. The game was at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Yeah, right.
I woke up, we scored after 3 minutes. First half was no good. It got to our time and thought, I'm out. Sod this, I'm going back to bed. And then I put the volume up just in case they heard anything. But nah, and I just woke up 89th minute, 1-0, job done. We're not conceding. on to the next round.
Back to bed.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that was a dross game.
Nothing to write home about that one.
Burnley again. That was massive. That was in my opinion, psychologically.
Yeah, right.
That was a massive win. That.
Yeah.
To go into this game against Liverpool, 3 points at the top of the league.
Yeah.
I believe is massive because it's the first time where we can actually say we can beat. We're on a level playing field with these. We don't have to roll over to Liverpool. We can take them on because we're the ones to beat now.
Yeah,
just that win, you know. Although you're the better team, of course. Like obviously with what you've won in the in last years and so. But now, I'd imagine you'd be a lot more worried than you were probably.
Well, you look at form coming in. You know, we're not firing on all cylinders. It's interesting. You say about it's a mentality thing of how you approach the game. I think if you look towards the Liverpool game, because it seems to be in the press and in interviews he's done, he's quite happy to play the underdog card. I think he's trying to take the pressure off a little bit of United, because the top of the league, and what he doesn't want is the team to feel like they have to win this game. I don't think anyway, because he puts that extra pressure on. Personally, as a Liverpool fan, I want you to come and compete.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what Ollie knows is if you come and bring the game to Liverpool, try and put on a performance, it plays a little bit into our hands if we're on our game, and that's where it's really interesting about. It'll be determined by the lineups, how we decide to play. Do you think you'll come and compete? Or do you think you'll sit men behind the ball and try and hoof it long?
I think we'll try and counter in a way. I think
it's worked in the past.
Yeah, I don't think it's a tough one because in midfield, for example, Paul Pogba, and I've got to hold my hands up. Right, Paul Pogba in the last two games, last few games, has been really good, and I don't get that.
I think which position is he playing on the out on the left now?
Not so much. Well, yes and no, because Ollie's been kind of changing the game, the team, the positions kind of mid-game, and he's got fresher legs, and McTominay and Fred's been sitting out and so it's all about kind of fresh legs.
Which is new for Ollie, because you were critical of his in-game management, weren't you, for quite a while?
Yeah, so he has been kind of tweaking a few things.
Right.
So he has, so I think against City he kind of played more wide.
Right.
But that didn't kind of work. But he has been sensational in these last couple of games. And I don't know why he's doing it now. I feel as though, mate, you could win the Premier League for Man United this year. I'm still not going to like you.
Yeah,
it's all Bruno. I'm like, it's Bruno. I'm like, mate, you want to leave? You've more or less said, I want to leave. Or your agent's been saying that, which you've been saying that really to him. He's not going to say it without you not saying it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why have you decided to pull? To do it now? But then he interviewed after the Burnley game, and then they said, Paul, you look so happy now, and he's like, I'm happy when we win. And when he said that comment, I'm like, I'm kind of like, well, you can affect that by playing well. Yeah. And I feel as though now he's kind of showing us what he's about, because now it's the first time in a while
things are rosy.
We're not saying we can win the league, but it's the first time that we're at the top now. So, if I'm close, I've got the chance to win a title. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah. It's like, well, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
You should be doing this.
Where were you when we were struggling?
Yeah, exactly. Where were you when you were struggling? Oh, I want to leave. I want to go to such a thing.
Yeah.
Or is it purely, I think Pochettino, they asked Pochettino now that he's at PSG, and I think he wants to sign Paul Pogba for Paris Saint-Germain. Right. So is it a shop window? Is it? I don't really care.
Well, mate, I don't know. Maybe someone's had a word in his ear and said, "Listen, no one's going to sign you if you're not playing. If you're sulking and not playing.
Exactly. If you're getting the ball away all the
time, pull
your
finger out, and do a bit. And we know he's got the talent. Yeah. It's just whether he can be asked. It seems anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't think Pogba, although he's been really good the last couple of games, I don't necessarily think he'll start against Liverpool.
Why not?
Because I think he'll go Bruno, and then I think he'll want a McTominay, a Fred, or a Matic. I think he'll want a bit of steel in midfield, and because you'll be aggressive like a Henderson, or you've got some tough tacklers, or they'll want to see that battle, that Thiago, that Henderson.
Yeah.
Because if Thiago's letting someone like Thiago, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could say to Fred, sit on him.
Someone's going to have to.
And and just man-mark him out the game. Yeah. And every time he gets the ball, just boot it, like just kick him.
Yeah.
And then...
Please don't.
And then you get a book. And then Fred, you get a booking. And then Scott McTominay, it's your turn.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And just gang up and be like, right. And
he's a class above.
Yeah.
He's so good.
The interesting thing is, obviously, United's got a midweek game against Fulham, like after Liverpool. Maguire, Shaw, and Bruno are all on 4 yellow cards.
Right. I thought Maguire was on more. I thought he was on...
Well, I think...
You get your ban after 5, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, he might be right then.
So, that to me, if Jose Mourinho was the manager and we're beating Liverpool on the 92nd minute, Jose Mourinho would tell Maguire, Shaw and Bruno to time waste and get a booking on purpose. Because I'd rather you miss out against Fulham than later down the track when I think like Southampton's on the horizon, and I think we've got like, not that Arsenal pretty flash, but I think it'd be an interesting one, that. And I think we're going to see a red card in this. I think it'll be a feisty
affair.
So I think now it's kind of like, no, you want to show us, no, we're still the team to beat, and then we'll be like, no,
I love it. I prefer this rivalry to the City rivalry. I think this is like the old, this is a proper rivalry.
Yeah, this is the one, and I think it's because where we grew up, school's a big influence, and yes, I'm in the middle of Manchester and Liverpool.
As am I.
So when you go to school, there's more, let's say, Scouse influence of friends, and when you go to school, well, I would say so. I went to college, kind of.
Oh, you did, yeah, because more of I've only got
Ed Gill.
Only one of my mates is only Mike Scott's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, that's it. Ed Gill, Scousers, those Ormskirkers. So it's kind of, the hatred comes from that, and the fact that obviously the Liverpool's dominance and Man United's dominance through our childhood is a factor. Whereas if you grew up in the centre of Manchester, and I was born in the centre of Manchester, I would argue that I would probably hate City more, because at school there'd be City, there'd be United, fans, and then So I think it's just. But I love this rivalry, and I don't want to see. No one should be hugging. No one should be looking at each other in the tunnel. No talking. No. This is war now.
I think it will be. I think it's
2 red cards. I want to see 2 red cards apiece.
Minimum.
I want to see 2 red cards. Yeah, I want to see VAR going daft.
Well, it means a lot, doesn't it? Because it can really dictate how the rest of the season plays out. If you end up 6 points clear, it suddenly puts the pressure on us. We need to find our form again. The difficult part for us is we don't tend to. We're a very momentum based team. We don't tend to come back from things like international breaks very well. It takes us time. We've now had 9 days. Now there's an argument that we needed that because we were all over the show with the injuries and whatever. We hadn't figured out how to play the way we were having to play. After 9 days on the training field, we might have figured something out and we've been able to prepare specifically for this game. But it'd be interesting to see. The lineup for us is really interesting to me. I imagine we'll play Henderson in defence now. Well, I don't think Matip's going to be ready. Okay. I don't. He might. I hope he is. He might surprise us. At this point, I haven't seen anything scrolling through Twitter and stuff today that he's going to be ready.
I don't think watching whatever game it was, Newcastle or
Southampton was the last one.
Sorry, Southampton. Yeah. I don't think you can afford to play Henderson. I think if you play Henderson at centre back, that shows disrespect to Man United and think, you think you can get away with your two best.
But are you playing there then?
Well, surely you've got to give one of the young kids a baptism of fire. Your local
It's for me it's a pace thing. We've already seen Reece Williams has nil pace. Did you see him get skinned by that lad?
Yeah, I know.
Nil pace.
Yeah, I know.
You're probably going to knock the ball long for. We already seen what Rashford's done in the past to Trent, Cavani. Big balls over the top to Cavani. If we're playing a high line, we need someone with pace. Like Reece Williams hasn't got any pace. Nat Phillips, he can head the ball like the best of them, but nil pace. He's gonna have to. I think he's gonna have to play Henderson there for pace.
I think it sounds stupid, but I think James Milner would make a better centre back than Jordan Henderson.
In terms of makes
you. But that's what you kind of got Fabinho's height in there.
He's jumping for the both. it's and that this
I think you need Henderson. But
I agree. I completely agree, and it's the results we've had in the last couple of weeks is a direct correlation to, because the defence is out of whack, the midfield's now out of whack, which then means the forwards are out of whack. We're out of whack, and we've not been able to have time on the training field to like make a plan for how do we get around this. We know we're off balance.
Yeah.
But if Matip's not fit, I think you'll have to start Henderson at the back for pace. You guys are pacey and you're going to put long balls over the top of us. I think it'll have to be Henderson. And then that begs the question of what he does in midfield then, because you need to replace. You're replacing Henderson, who ideally in a grudge match like this, you want your midfield general in there. Thiago, I'm assuming, starts when he's fit, and he's gonna, he's the conductor of that orchestra now. He's going to be the one that's spraying these balls around. Wijnaldum, you'd have thought, starts, and then for me it's a question of, does he start Shaqiri or does he start Chamberlain? I think there is two. Curtis Jones maybe, but I'm not sure.
Because
it's the Liverpool, the Scouts thing. He might put him in there, but you're in for a tough day because United's midfield is.
Yeah, I'd say the options that we've got.
It's quality.
Yeah, of the options that Man United have in central midfield and this war that I think it would be. Like, it's got to be the right choices, because we could dominate. It's
where the game's won or lost for us in the midfield. It's where it's been lost for us the last couple of weeks. Or underperformed last couple of weeks. On form, he's come on and played well. Shaqiri is that informed player, and he's got the relationship with Thiago as well. But he's a fantastic option off the bench. If he starts, you're then suddenly looking at the bench and being like, how do I change this game? Chamberlain? I don't know. And Chamberlain's a big game player as well. He's been in them City, really important City games, and played well, scored goals. It'll all be dictated by what happened on the training pitch this week. I don't know. I think I'd start Chamberlain purely so you've got Shaqiri to come off the bench if we need when we need him, and then obviously the front three writes itself. Who I think will give your defence a torrid time. By the way, we've been making heaps of chances, just not taking them. I don't know you don't know what that is. Like I said, everything's been out of whack a little bit. We've got to get this midfield right. And we've got to take the chances. That's how we win this game. I think we'll have chances against your back three, back four, whatever you end up playing. We've just got to make sure we take them.
You know what? No, I'm thinking over Fred. I reckon Nemanja Matic will play over Fred. And I think he will be the one, because he's a big guy, strong, good on the ball. I think he will be the one to say, sit on Thiago. He's twice the size of him and bully him. Yeah. As soon as he gets the ball, you are on it. You follow him. If he goes to the toilet, go to the toilet. You are on it. This is your job.
It's what worries me about Thiago as well. We've seen he's just come back from a long-term injury. There is, I worry how injury prone he is. You said this when we signed him. There's no way Munich let these people go.
There's no way
if there's not something wrong.
Yeah.
And it took him a long time to recover from that. It was a nasty challenge, but it took him a long time to recover from it. And when you talk now about putting a big man on him in the midfield, I'm just like, oh God. He's the difference that could potentially win us the league this year.
Yeah.
In terms of pure class, skill, quality. Got to keep him fit though, and you need people around him as well. You ideally want Henderson in there. I just don't see a way around it. I don't know. I don't see a way around that defence.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. Not against you, man.
Yeah. On the flip side, with defence, is one of the upturn in form has also been down to Eric Bailly as well. Eric Bailly has finally got a run of games. I think,
right.
I don't think he's ever played 4 games on the bounce, or whatever it is, or 3, whatever. Or 3 or 4 games on the bounce.
Yeah.
And he adds that what you was talking about pace earlier. He's the antidote to Maguire's lack of pace, and that's why he's the athlete. Yeah. He'll fly in. He'll probably walk.
Be the one that goes.
Yeah. If we're predicting 2 red cards apiece, I predict Bailly, and he'll do something.
There'll be penalties in this game, won't there, as well?
They'll just be flying.
Yeah.
Bailly will be flying left, right, and centre. He'll probably give a penalty away, and he'll probably fight someone, and then it's like boom.
What odds we can get on a couple of penalties either way?
I don't know.
Could you easily see it happening? Liverpool scampering back. There's a long ball played over the top. Liverpool's lack of pace,
last
scampering
minute
back.
Cynical tackle or something.
Yeah,
and kicks off. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
I think it'll be a rough and ready game. I guess one other thing I wanted before I get a prediction out of it. There was talk. I read on Twitter this morning. There was some talk on the Liverpool fans being in Anfield having a banner for
Rashford.
What do you think of that? As a, I'll tell you what I think of it as a Liverpool fan. But if you're a United fan, you play in your local rivals. Would you want to see a Jordan Henderson? Or let's say, would you want to see a Steven Gerrard banner in the Stretford end?
I think it's a good thing, and I think I would, because it's all based on its merit. Like if Gerrard, if Henderson, whoever, if they deserve, and what Rashford has done, it's out bigger than football.
Yep.
So therefore, this is a banner that is bigger than football, and it's kind of rivalry as a side. Just as you come together when, the disasters throughout the world, or some things are bigger than football, and I think it's a great gesture. Yeah. From
I hope
Liverpool
it happens.
to do that.
I agree. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's not a banner saying how good's Marcus Rashford. It's a banner acknowledging someone who's done something. Yeah. Bigger than, like you said, bigger than football.
Yeah. There's Liverpool,
especially
underprivileged kids,
Liverpool, Manchester,
that need free school meals. End of, and that's why there's a banner.
Yeah, and he's done fantastic work. It doesn't mean we have to support him, we have to cheer for him. It's just an acknowledgement of someone from a rival team that has done something fantastic to help children everywhere.
Exactly,
and it should be acknowledged, shouldn't it? And we can boom as much as we want in a footballing context, but I think he's done something fantastic, and
it's an England player. Gesture. Don't forget, you'd be cheering him in the Euros if he won you the Euros.
Yeah, I don't think Liverpool would.
Yeah, but it's
but no, I
come
agree.
Together then.
I agree.
So what's the difference?
Yeah, so I hope he does come off. I hope they do put something together, because I think it's worth acknowledging, and it shows that although this is one of the most historic, bitterest, fiercest rivalries, there's things that are bigger than football, and we need to acknowledge when our rivals also do something good, and we can carry on hating each other after that.
Yeah. I don't think Celtic and Rangers would do it, but that's a different story. I don't think you'd ever see anything like that.
No, you've probably got,
too religious.
There's religious and political
just
context
too
there,
deep-rooted.
Yeah. Liverpool United are quite similar in terms of political kind of stance and views and things like that. And
it's kind of, the Man United-Liverpool rivalry is kind of built on respect.
Yeah.
A hatred that is built from...
It's the best type of rivalry,
yeah, it's a hatred that is...
It's an industrial...
You were good then.
Yeah.
Then we were good.
Yeah.
And and it's that, and that's what it's built
and we know
on.
that...
We'll knock you off your perch.
Yeah. And then you'll knock us off, and it'll go round and round, and we'll have... And there's times of...
We got the most league title, and it's just it's the measuring stick, and that's what it's built on.
Yeah. And that's what it...
You don't want it any other way.
That's what rivalry should be about, and that's why, for me, I'm glad that Liverpool are playing atop of the table United with the chance to close that gap on them, and we might well go to the wire this year. I want this rivalry. I think Liverpool as well will thrive off that peril of we want to get we get a chance to go back ahead, don't we? We get that 20th title this year if we win this one. It's some incentive, isn't it? It keeps us all on edge, and it'll be fantastic. We'll be at each other's throats for the next couple of months, but it's brilliant. And the thing we need to watch as well though is that while all this has been going on, quietly, City look really good, and that's why there's also extra incentive for both of us in this game, because you're looking over your shoulder at a team really finding their feet eventually in this season now, and we've all got to keep pace. It's about keeping pace this back end of the season. Liverpool have fallen off it, but because we started well, we were at a level already, but we need to get back in the race. So it's going to be an interesting few months.
Score prediction?
Liverpool 3-1.
Okay.
What do you think? I think we'll concede, but I think we're better than you. On our day, I think we're better than United.
2-1 United. And I hope it's a 95th minute penalty that hits the post.
I can't think of anything worse.
It's your keeper. Deflects off Donny van der Beek and goes through Trent's legs. I hope it's like that. And it's offside. And it's not picked up on.
If it is, this is the end of the podcast. See you, everyone. We're not going to do it anymore.
But one thing I do want to finish on, I mentioned penalties. Did you see that penalty stat doing the rounds this week?
No, I've avoided anything to do with it. What?
So, you obviously give us the abuse about penalties and penalty to United and all this. If you took away, I don't know whether it's scored penalties, 'cause I did brief over this stat. If you took away the penalties this season, or winning penalties, or scored penalties of both teams, whatever it is, Man United would be second, a point behind Liverpool.
Right.
If you took Liverpool's penalties away, they'd be 10th.
Wow. Well, you gotta be in the position to get those.
And that's what we're finishing on. Penalty to Liverpool.
On that bombshell will end. Cheers, mate. It's been fantastic, mate, as always. That's why we're still friends on Monday morning.
Yeah. And if you do beat us, I'll probably next time I will make contact. We'll probably be next week on the podcast. So I think it's Monday morning, 3:30 or something.
3:30 in the morning, Monday morning,
which is great for us that work full time. So
happy days down under for that.
So that'll be waking up early, staying away from your phone, and we'll see if we're still mates by lunchtime, I guess. Yeah. Maybe I should stay yours on Sunday night, but I think we'll be fighting at bloody 5 a.m. anyway.
Scrapping in the street. Brilliant. Thank you again for tuning in. As always, if you've enjoyed what you've heard, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell your mates, and we'll see you next week for some more chats.
And thanks for tuning in, guys, and let's go United. Let's get the win.
Reds.
Thanks, mate.